Hello everyone, welcome to the first ever Venge Experiment video. So the idea behind this video is when making games, there's a lot of experiments that you're going to do. You're going to try something and then maybe it doesn't work, or maybe it does work. And I thought it would be really fun to log that process. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at randomized rooms and my development cycle through them. So you're going to be watching a bunch of clips that I've recorded throughout the development cycle, and I will be talking over them, explaining what I'm doing, and explaining just everything. I did record audio for these clips, but then I lost it because I am not good at this. So you're gonna have to enjoy a voiceover. But let's get started. Alright, so I have spent like 15 minutes making these two little, what are they called? Inspector helpers. So I have the room generator here. I can choose a different size, and then I'll see the live preview in the scene of what it'll look like. And obviously there's the grid system, and then also in the editor I can see a texture version of the preview. I imagine because this one is going to have the one that has the assets in it, so it might be nice to see, I don't know, maybe these will light up different colors, I'm not sure, probably not, but it would be nice to see like what the exact information is on here, so that's why I'm doing that. But next up, I'm going to add in the basic code to generate a room. I'm going to add in like the class infrastructure for all of that. And so I will catch you when I do. Alright, it's been a little bit too long, but I've gotten this working. So now what it does is it generates random colors per tile. And what this means is, for example, this could be a chair, the green could be chairs, you know, stuff like that. And so I am going to start I don't know what I'm going to start doing, but I'm going to get working, and I guess you'll find out in a few seconds. Okay, I've made some updates. So nothing really has changed here. It still generates the same that it did, but now in the scriptable object, I can define the size of the object in terms of the tiles. Let me make this a little bit more clear like that. So this will say that it's a 1x1 tile. So then when we generate it, it'll be a 1x1 tile, right? But the cool thing is I can also do like a 2x2, and then it'll show that little preview of how it'll look. And then this is the origin of the object. So this is how it'll be rotated, all of that sort of thing. But then the cool thing, let's say I'm doing a 4x3, but actually a 2x3. But I know that some of these tiles are not going to be used. Like let's say it's one of those corner desks. I can go in and I can go and tell it to get rid of some of these tiles here. It can let other shapes fit into this spot right here because they're transparent tiles. So this is crazy cool and crazy awesome. And so the next thing I'm going to do is add in the ability to actually start generating these things. Alright, so I've made a little bit more progress, and this is kind of like the big thing now. So if you notice here, I have two different objects. I have this table, which is in blue, that I'm moving around right now. And then I have this like corner shaped thing, right? And I can also move that around. Watch what happens if I try to move the table on top of that corner shaped thing. It's gone. That position is invalid. I can't move it there. But if I move it down one more, it can fit down here because that's not interrupting any of those tiles. And I can even like snugly fit it inside of there. And then because the table number one has priority, if I move this one over, it gets rid of that other table. So I can now guarantee that no objects will clip into each other. And this is really, really cool. So I can basically move all these objects around, and as they get generated in order, then they will properly avoid collisions with each other, and it will be all lovely. So then the next thing I need to do is I need to make it so it'll actually generate these objects. The way that I want to do that is I want to have it I want to give it a list of priorities, like what should generate and what priority is it. So for example, in a room, it should, like in an office, it should start with the big things like a table, and then it should go to chairs, and then maybe for chairs it could do this, and then just smaller stuff. So then I can guarantee that every room will have a table, and then every room will have a chair, for example. And then I'm gonna do more complex relationships, like maybe chairs prefer to be next to tables, So we're gonna do that, and I will update you guys in a second. Alright, so here we are. You can see that I can now randomly generate some stuff, and you can see that, so we have the table, and then these are chairs. So inside the set thing here, I have a few rules. So we have we have the chairs, which all can have different, so there could be like 2, 5, 3, or 4 of them, and those are like the max placement attempts, so there might be even less. Then we have the table, which will 100% be there, and then the chairs could be randomly skipped too. So then what's happening is every time we're generating it, it is going one by one and it's trying to add all of the options, right? So this is great and all, but it's not very realistic, right? Like this chair situation is not good. There's not gonna be a table, chair, and then no chair, you know what I mean? And space and then chair. That would look weird. So next up, I'm gonna add rules. So for example, chairs should be next to tables or next to walls. They should never be out in the open, right? So I will be doing that. All right, so it's the next day and I've got some awesome progress to show you. So here we have our room generator right here, and I only have it generating chairs. There's a table in here, but just ignore that. So it's generating chairs, and you can see it's generating them pretty randomly. And I can double check that by, if I show what each tile appeal looks like, and if I turn on the randomness, then you'll see that each tile is basically random. But that's not the cool part. The cool part is now we have these rule sets. So over on the left side here, I have the scriptable object open. So I can go here and add a new rule, and this rule is prefer edges. So then if I turn this off, you can see already, we can see that the appeal of each tile gets changed. So it prefers edges. And then if I start regenerating these, you can see that they now start to prefer the edges. I can add another rule, but I think I should just change this one. I can also do prefer edges non-corner. So if we take a look at what that looks like, you can see that it makes the edges outside of the corners look a lot stronger. So if we generate these, you can see that the chairs are preferring to sit on the edges, and that's all great and that's all wonderful. And I can also do prefer center, which, as you might assume, will try to move them to the center. Another cool thing I can do is, if I do prefer edges, I can make it negative. So if I have a negative influence, what that'll look like is it'll, instead of adding, it'll subtract. So what that ends up being is basically a center, because, you know, that makes sense. And it's pretty interesting because if you do prefer edges non-corner, what that ends up looking like is this. So because the regular convolution looks like this, where it has, no, I don't want to see that, where it shows the edges right here, it kind of makes this X pattern. So if we set it to negative, obviously the X is going to be the only thing that's popping up. So then if we start generating chairs in this position, they happen to form an X shape. And the system is really cool, it's really smart. So let's say I want to generate 15 chairs. I've never done this before, so let's hope this works. And I want them to all prefer the center. And generate. You'll notice they all they'll like clump together. And so for example, if we do prefer edges non-corner, you'll see they kind of clump in that pattern. So if it tries to take a slot that's already taken, it'll just choose a different one. And it's pretty cool. So I want to add a little bit more relationships to this. I want to be able to have like following other objects around. For example, like if we put in a table here, let's do a table, and then I gotta make sure that it can actually generate. We put a table in here. I want the chairs to prefer being next to the table. And the way that that'll work is if the table's first, then it'll try to place chairs, you know, around the table. And that's what the appeal would look like. But I'm gonna get working on that, and I will see you in a bit. I did it. So, here is what we've got. If I start generating these, you can see all of these chairs are sitting around the table. And the way that this is working is I have this new rule here called follow object. And what this does is I give it an object, one of these types, and then I can set the strength. And then what it'll do is when the convolution happens, it'll try to follow the object. I can even set it to negative, which has some funny results where the chairs will completely avoid the object at all costs. They'll try to go as far away as humanly possible. And it works really, really well. And also what I'm really proud of is the system is very robust. So for example, I could just, let me add in a new table like this. Boom. So now we have 2 tables. And you can see the chairs will respectively follow both objects. So if I do this, and if I don't want chairs to follow a particular table, I just put the table after the chairs. And then this table will be completely alone. So just the order of this actually does matter, and it changes how it looks. And I'm really, really proud of this. And I could probably come up with some other rules, but for now I'm going to work on dead spaces. Alright, and that is dead tiles done. So the way that dead tiles work is you can see them visualized here and also here. They're basically ways for me to take tiles out of the simulation or the randomness procedural thing. So for example, I took out this middle section right here and then also this door. So maybe this is like the doorway and I don't want anything to be in the doorway. And then maybe this right here is like, I don't know, maybe it's like some sort of tree in the middle of the room. If I take these out, now you can see here, objects will not spawn or generate on top of these areas. I can add some nasty ones all over the room like this, and then it will be forced to work around it. And you can see, okay, so this is what I mean. So if you see here, we have only a few different tiles that objects could generate on. I've created like an X of dead space. And here you can see I have 2 tables attempting to spawn, but there's no room for them. If there isn't room, it'll really try, but it won't always be able to. So in this case, it's only able to generate the chairs, and then because the chairs rely on the tables for their follow thing, then they won't obviously follow the tables because they're not there. But something interesting I can do is if I make the follow strength for the tables really strong, but then if I add a rule where I prefer the edges, but I make it less strong, then you can see that they'll prefer the edges if no table is there, but then if I add a table, then they will ignore their preferred edges and they will still spawn next to the tables. It's like this, see? Like I would love to be able to have like only generate this if this exists, or only generate, like do not generate this if this exists, which I'm actually going to do right now. Alright, voiceover time. This is where I lost the audio. So you can see that I've added it. It's called the if-else rule. And what it lets you do is it lets you specify an object and then a chance to skip or chance to ignore. And if that object is not in the scene already, it'll add it based on that chance. So you can see me testing it here, but the red table doesn't appear, and that's because the blue table always appears. So if I go in and I make it so the blue table gets skipped some of the time, right there, yeah, right there, then you can see the red table now has a chance of spawning in, which is super, super cool. You may have also noticed that the chairs are no longer following the red table, and that's because the chairs are tied to the blue table, not the red table. So I can add that right now. There we go. So now it works. You have absolutely no idea how hard that was. I had to completely recode my entire system, but you know, it works now, so that's good. And then you can see if I make the red table always appear so that it doesn't, it kind of ignores the if else, then it can generate at the same time, which is pretty cool. I don't know how useful that'll be, but it's pretty cool. Alright, so here's the hard part. Actually generating the assets in the scene. So let me go figure that out. Boom! Got it. So again, super hard, took forever. I don't even honestly remember it. But here we go. So you can see that we've got our little room with a nice little grid thing going on. And then we have the assets. And when I regenerate the room, you can see that the assets are actually reflected in the scene. Finally, you don't have to use your imagination anymore. And you can see that for now they just kind of have random rotations and it's fine. But I'd ideally like to fix that in the future. For example, I want the chairs to always face a table. You know, stuff like that. I actually can't remember if I implemented that. I don't think I did. But it looks pretty cool. Most of the rooms look like absolute garbage, but that's where the rules come in. So then I'll have to go in and I'll have to like specially create all of these rules so that the rooms actually look realistic. But there's some of them that look really, really good. So I'm going to show you what it looks like in the game, and we'll get a live reaction. So here we go. Let's do that. Alright, live reaction mode. So I'm getting the scene loaded. It takes forever. You can actually see all the new stuff that I'm going to show in the next progress update. But anyway, that's not the point. So, alright, here we go. So, this is one of the places that I chose to do the random rooms first. Why is it laggy? It's my computer. My computer's like rendering stuff. So, we've got all of these different rooms. Which one should we go in? Let's check out you. Okay, this one's cute. This one's fun. Just a table and a chair. Let's see this one. Ooh, I like this one more. I like how, I mean, it's still kind of boring, but these rooms are tiny. This one's kind of ominous. What about this one? Ooh, this one has a lot of chairs. So these rooms are really tiny. Let's get like a bigger room so that we can fully, like, oh, sorry about that. Let's check out you. Interesting. Also, ignore that. That's not supposed to be there. Boom, look, I found a really good one. So this one right here has a bunch of tables or chairs all surrounding a table in a really dark room. Let me get myself, oh, Okay, sorry, I got that working. Okay, so then we could do give debug lantern. Here we go, look at that. This one looks pretty good, if I do say so myself. I'm really happy with this one. This one's cool too. But yeah, I would say that honestly, these are pretty good. They could be improved, they could be more interesting, but I think that comes down to like the props and stuff that need to be added. But that is that, and there we go. So hopefully you enjoyed that experiment. I think this was a success. I can see myself using the system in the future, and it'll be in Venge 2.0 for good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what feedback you have. Maybe you guys have some interesting ideas I didn't try, stuff like that. But thank you so much for watching. I gotta read the Patreons. Thank you all, lovely Patreons. So we got Bloxy Miner, Ba-Ba-T-A, Fortnite, Minimations, Type Variables Layer, Burning Eye, The Blockimations, If You Must Cross the Course with a Cross the Crowd Course, Cross the Course, Courses Cross the Arus 9, Broombot Wingler, Erla Black, Vaish, Xeon, Chris Rodriguez, It's Lightning, Archie Walker, My Dog Owns This Account, Widowino, 3D Key, Lemonautical, The Pepsi Cola, Gemini Booth, Ashkun, and Star XI. Thank you all so much, and enjoy your day. Bye!